Now, the narrow streets of the temple town of Varanasi turn into a sea of saffron flags as Prime Minister Narendra Modi started his roadshow as many days in his parliamentary constituency. The Prime Minister rode an open-top vehicle waving to flag and balloon-waving supporters who thronged the streets of Varanasi. And Prime Minister Modi is seeking votes for the BJP candidate standing for election in the 3 assembly constituencies that comprise the Prime Minister's parliamentary constituency. Just yesterday, the Prime Minister had hit the campaign trail in the temple town with an impromptu road show while he was on his way to the city's most revered temples in the morning. In the evening, Prime Minister Modi had addressed a public rally as well, and PM Modi will be attending an intellectual meeting program in Varanasi later at night. Meanwhile, BJP President Amit Shah started his public meeting in Ambedkar Nagar and will go on to Jaunpur and finally to Ghazipur district. Now, the Congress party is also leaving no stone unturned while campaigning for the last phase of elections. Vice President Rahul Gandhi spoke at public meetings in Sonbhadra and Tudhi and is expected to hold another one at Jaunpur later today. Uttar Pradesh Governor Ram Naik has written to Chief Minister Akhilesh asking reasons for retaining rape-accused Gayatri Prajapati in his cabinet. In a letter, UP Governor wrote and said non-bailable warrant has been issued against Prajapati after an FIR was registered against him in a rape case. Serious questions of constitutional morality and dignity arise on his remaining in the cabinet. Governor has sought a justification on retaining the accused minister. Non-bailable warrants against Prajapati and 6 others were issued by police on Saturday, while the minister's passport was impounded and a lookout notice was also issued against him. In fact, raids are being conducted in Lucknow, Kanpur, Amethi and other towns in the state to track down the absconding minister. The Samajwadi Party leader has been missing for almost a week now after he was charged with a rape case on a woman and also attacking her young daughter. Prajapati has moved the Supreme Court for protection from arrest and his petition is likely to be heard on Monday.
We have no say in regarding his passport is being seized or whether he is being arrested or not. That is the entire prerogative of the police. What our concern is that the victim's family, victim and the people who are supporting her, the witnesses, they are being threatened. The latest in this series is now the police is going to the victims' other daughters' colleges and asking very derogatory questions about the daughters.
जिसके ऊपर रेप का आरोप लगने के लिए महिला को सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक लड़ाई लड़नी पड़ी हो, और इसलिए हम तो अखिलेश जी को कहना चाहते हैं कि आप तो कह रहे हो कि उनका 100 डायल करने पे 15 दिन में या कितने 15 घंटे में 15 मिनट में, और यहाँ तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक डायल करने पे 15 दिन के अंदर भी गायत्री प्रजापति नहीं मिल रहे।
A 39-year-old Sikh man in the US was shot outside his home by a partially masked gunman who allegedly yelled, "Go back to your own country." Another suspected hate crimes comes just days after an engineer was killed in a Kansas bar. With a number of Indians being targeted in the US, questions are being raised that are Indians increasingly becoming vulnerable community in the US? Take a look at this report.
One after another, Indians are being targeted in Trump's America. In the most recent attack, 39-year-old Indian American was shot at by an unidentified white male in Kent City in one of America's most liberal state, Washington. And the Indian community is shaken.
Yes, it is hard. It's hard to see somebody from your community being a victim of a hate crime. I mean, I've been here a long time and we haven't seen something happening at this level.
The victim was shot in his arm while he was working on his car in his driveway. Now out of danger, he alleges the attacker said, "Go back to your own country" before pulling the trigger. Investigators have roped in FBI to assist in the probe.
Some comments were made to the effect of "get out of our country, go back to where you're from," and our victim was then shot. I think it was a crime of opportunity where maybe the person was in the area. We believe he approached on foot he may have seen this and taken the opportunity to commit this terrible crime.
Baffled by the mounting cases of alleged hate crimes, India continues to raise the issue with the US authorities. India's External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj tweeted on hearing about this incident. With the number of attacks on Indians on the rise in America, there are questions being raised on whether they are linked to Trump's presidency. The senseless murder in Kansas City has already started to affect how the United States is seen in India. A country where the American technology sector is widely admired and where the United States has historically enjoyed high approval ratings, a new caution has begun to circulate across India. Sana Khan for WION.
A 39-year-old Indian American shot by an unidentified white male in Kansas City, with number of attacks on Indians on the rise in America. Questions are being raised on whether these alleged hate crimes are linked to Trump's presidency. Watch our special coverage tonight at 9:30 p.m. And news just coming in, a blast took place in Sopore district of Baramulla. 3 people have been injured and no casualties have been reported yet. However, this happens after security forces are locked in a fierce gun battle with terrorists for the second successive day. 1 policeman has been killed in the encounter at Thrall town in Pulwama district of South Kashmir. An army major and 2 security personnel have been injured in the gun battle that began on Saturday evening. At least 3 terrorists are believed to be holed up in a residential building in that area. Reports say security forces are facing difficulties in conducting the operation due to resistance from local residents. According to data released by Jammu and Kashmir Crime Branch, the state has witnessed a 3-fold increase in cases of rioting and a substantial rise in arson cases in 2016. The data says Jammu and Kashmir has witnessed as many as 3,404 cases of rioting in 2016 as compared to 1,157 cases in 2015. Similarly, police registered as many as 267 cases of arson in 2016 as compared to just 147 such cases in 2015. China's annual parliament session began today in Beijing, where Premier Li Keqiang announced the economic growth target, which would be around 6.5% of the GDP in 2017. Topics of concern among the 3,000 handpicked delegates include how to further reforms to help the slowing economy and expanding the country's national defense forces. China's parliament spokeswoman said China's defense budget will rise about 7% this year. It's the slowest pace since 2010. Chang Yung, a delegate from Hong Kong, said that the national defense budget should be higher than the 7% rise in spending. Keeping in mind the aggressive United States under President Donald Trump's administration, a leading binge and increased government spending last year have fueled worries about high debt levels and an overheating housing market. China has pledged more support for its military, hiking the country's defense budget by 7%. This includes strengthening the maritime and air defenses. However, the Chinese government refrained from giving the actual spending figures for 2017 despite promises of transparency. Last year, the defense budget was about 954 billion yuan, and that is about 138 billion US dollars. According to diplomats, the number is being closely watched by those around the region and by Washington for clues to China's intentions, considering its claims in the South China Sea region. Hundreds and thousands of South Koreans held a massive rally in Seoul on Saturday demanding the resignation of impeached President Park Geun-hye. The candle-lit protest was held ahead of a constitutional court ruling on whether to uphold the impeachment expected this month. More than 900,000 people attended the rally in Seoul's District Square. The corruption scandal erupted last year over accusations that Park colluded with a friend, Choi Soon-ul, and the pressure Big to donate to two foundations set up to back the president's policy initiatives. If the impeachment is upheld by Constitutional Court, Park would become the country's first democratically elected president to be thrown out of office. News coming in from Iraq now, where Britain has agreed to arrange £10 billion in loans to finance infrastructure projects in the country over a 10-year period. Now, Iraqi Acting Finance Minister Abdul Razzaq Al-Essa informed about the arrangements at a news conference in Baghdad today, saying that the two countries signed a memorandum of understanding that will serve as a framework to provide funds to specific projects during this period. Acting as a catch in the arrangement, only British firms can be contracted to carry out projects funded by these loans. Now, Britain is a main partner in the US-led coalition helping Iraq defeat Islamic State. Frank Baker, the British ambassador to Iraq, said the loans would help Iraq recover from the ravages of Daesh, using an Arabic language acronym for the Islamic State. Tensions between Pakistan and Afghanistan have increased, and this after Islamabad refused to reopen border crossings following a spate of terror attacks. Criticizing Pakistan for targeting its citizens unfairly, Kabul's top diplomat in Islamabad, Omar Zakilwal, said that despite repeated requests for releasing its citizens, Pakistan was illegally detaining them by not opening its borders. In a strongly worded statement, Zakilwala said that he was considering airlifting its citizens if Pakistan continued the blockade. Writing on social media, he added that should it come to it, such a move would reflect poorly on Pakistan. He also said that Pakistan's argument that such a border closure was intended to stop terrorists from crossing over didn't carry any weight, since crossings such as the Torkhan and Spin Boldak were manned by hundreds of military personnel from both sides. Now we have our chief correspondent in Pakistan, Taha Siddiqui, joining us on the phone line. Taha, give us the latest on this particular development.
Well, from what we know right now, the Afghan ambassador has said that he will airlift some of those Afghans who are stuck at the border. Now, these are mostly Afghans who usually travel between Pakistan and Afghanistan regularly from the Torkhan border, and it has been closed down for over 2 weeks now. These are usually students, some of them who study in Pakistan. There are people who are coming for medical treatment to Pakistan. There are people who come for business reasons and doing trade. All of these, because of the fact that the Pak-Afghan border has been closed by the Pakistan military. After that, the Afghans have not been able to cross over, and so they're stuck at Torkhan border, and they have pleaded to the Pakistani government, they've pleaded to their own government, and the Pakistani government has left it on to the Pakistan military, which has not decided anything in this regard. And we're seeing that now the ambassador is saying that he will airlift these Afghans which are stranded on the border.
Right, Tahan, do you see tensions mounting further between the two nations in the future?
Well, we've seen that because of this border closure, and not just at Torkhan, the other border with Chaman has also been closed down, and Pakistan has been also saying that, has been claiming that it has been doing strikes inside Afghan territory, hitting out at camps which it says are occupied by Pakistani Taliban or other militants that are attacking Pakistani state. So we've seen a lot of tensions and no such joint strategy from both sides. Pakistan doing things on its own. Afghanistan, we've already seen accusing Pakistan of harboring the Afghan Taliban, the Haqqani network, which are fighting the insurgency in Afghanistan. So both countries have had a very sort of a tumultuous relationship and a tension-based relationship in the last few months. And this sort of seems like a culmination in the sense that now we're seeing the border closure and no dialogue between the two sides happening as to what should happen next.
Also, this is a very strongly worded statement coming from Zakirwal. What do you make of this?
Well, it does seem like from what we see that we did hear about some talks happening, some behind the door, sort of like the diplomacy trying to sort of work the way out with the Foreign Office here. But given the fact that the military controls the policy, and then the military also asked Afghan diplomats to hand over some terrorists, and we were hearing that whether or not any progress on that will be made will decide what the future relationship will be. And it appears from now that the Afghan ambassador's harsh statement, or the statement that comes from him, reflects that there's been a sort of a talk failure. The ones that we were hearing might have gone through, and there appears to be a deadlock between the two countries.
Right, that was Taha Siddiqui, Bureau Chief in Pakistan, on the phone line with us.